We look at the 4 teams from the state of North Carolina in the ACC. This time of year, we're talking football, although eventually we will add basketball in, and it will all kind of mix and mingle. But for right now, we're talking football. It's a 1-week award. Who over the last week is off the podium? Who's bronze, silver, and gold? As always, we start off the podium and we work our way up. Off the podium, Duke Blue Devils. They lost to Georgia Tech 27-18. There's a few reasons why. By the way, this was a bargain or just a dungeon of selection.
Yeah, it was not a fun way to put this one together. But hey, someone had to win, someone had to be off.
And you may say, well, why Duke? Why nobody else won. Why Duke? Well, here's why. Their game had the most stakes, right? They had the biggest opportunity to grow. If they beat Georgia Tech, they're in the driver's seat in the ACC. They might be in the driver's seat for a CFP, right? Because if you win the ACC, you're automatically in, and they could be on their way to the college to the ACC championship. Now that you lost, you need to lick your wounds, figure it out, play better down the stretch, and maybe get a little bit of help elsewhere. And then on top of that, of the games that were played, if a loss feels like one slipped through your fingers, it would be Duke's. Right, because in that first half they played fairly well, aside from the weird plays that cost them really being up a decent amount at half. Right, the fumble down on the goal line and a few others.
And it was a 10-10 game in the second half. Yeah,
to lose 27-18 in a game that you probably should have at one point been up, probably 17-0 at some point, or something in that range to end up losing 27-18. That's a more brutal beat. So they're off the podium, and that's where we start. Bronze medal, UNC. They also lost. They lost to Cal, 21-18. It was on the road. It was late night on the East Coast. It was on a Friday. I don't know what's more insulting, putting Duke off the podium or putting UNC bronze and going like, this was good for them.
They didn't get their butts kicked.
This is a competitive football game with meaningful football in the fourth quarter against a Power 5 opponent. I almost feel like that's more insulting, to put them higher because they lost, but it wasn't bad. There are a few things that, like after the Clemson game, after the UCF game, obviously after the TCU game for UNC, the points of emphasis were aplenty, right? The points of emphasis were, well, we got to do better running the ball. We have to be able to throw the ball. Well, our defense has to tackle. Our defense has to, you could have gone to almost every aspect of the team. After this one, it's a basic, very obvious thing, but it's one thing. They have to win the turnover battle, right? They lost the turnover battle 3-0. If it's even, I think they win the game. If they only lose the turnover battle by 1, I think they win the game. So they can talk about that without having to list 900 things. Bill Belichick talked about the emphasis on forcing more turnovers. Here is the head coach of the Tar Heels.
There are plenty of balls out in practice. We turn the ball over in practice, and so we're trying to do the right things. We're just going to have to do a better job of it in the game. And, we had 2 balls out. In the Cal game, Ty had the strip sack, ball rolled out of bounds. We had a fumbled muff punt there, couldn't quite get to that. Muffed another punt, was it last week, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. We couldn't quite get. So we're, you don't get them, doesn't matter, it's just a foul ball. But I'm with you. We're on it, and we're doing everything we can to try to get them, and we need to get them. And we need to get them.
If they get them, they might win that game. It's sometimes it's that simple. Punch the ball out. Would you see the NFL had to put out a memo to teams saying, make sure when you're punching the football out, you're aiming for the football, because guys were just clocking them in the jaw and going like, the ball moved, my bad. Sorry, I was aiming for the football. Punched him in the kidney.
His face ran into my fist.
Yeah, so they had to put out the memo of make sure you're aiming for the football. UNC bronze, silver, NC State. It's a bye week. It's they not a lot of movement there. It's a bye week. I guess you could say maybe you can win the bye week by getting better. Dave Doeren talked about self-scouting themselves during the bye week, is what their head coach said.
If there's something repetitive that's still on film and we're coaching it, the player has to fix it, or you got to put somebody else in the game. And so you're doing that across the board. And like I told the team today, you get in a game, you have your starting 11 on offense and defense and special teams. You got a handful of guys that rotate, so you're probably playing 18 guys to 20 maybe on each side of the ball. And you're asking each one of those players to just do 1%, one more thing in their game with these bye weeks. And if you can get that at 100% rate, you have a dramatic amount of improvement in a game. And that's what we need, because these games that we're losing, the one possession games that happened earlier, with Duke and Virginia Tech, those are 2 or 3 plays in the game. They're different games, right? And so that's 2 or 3 plays, 2 or 3 players making plays. And that's what it comes down to. It's going to be no different this week with Pitt.
Got to get better. Self-scouting to me, I actually think would be kind of fun. Like if I were an offensive coordinator and I like, hey, we got a couple days to go to the defensive coordinator. How would you beat my offense? How would you stop me? I'll do the same for you. Then we're going to come together and compare notes. I think that would be kind of like a good little chess game between offense and defensive coordinator. On a bye week, show up with your notepad. They got their notepad. All right. How would you stop my third downs? See what they come up with. See if you would anticipate it. It's a good little game. Finally, at least for my portion of the podium, gold goes to Wake Forest. They also had a bye week. It's not great when gold and silver are just teams that stayed exactly the same, just had a bye week. But that's what we're dealing with here in the state of North Carolina at the moment. I guess the Georgia Tech loss for them got better because Georgia Tech's now up to 7th in the country. So losing close to Georgia Tech looks better on paper now. So that's kind of a weird way to win a bye week. That is on technicality a way you end up with the gold medal.
Yeah, should have had a win if it weren't for the officials. Against a team that's ranked to the top 10.
There you go. Ironically, they wouldn't be in the top 10 if they would have won. So it's kind of a sliding doors moment. How would it have gone? Maybe Wake would be ranked.
Maybe, actually.
There's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of maybe they would be ranked. If Duke beat Georgia Tech, they'd be ranked for sure. But they lost. So there you go. That is the podium, my portion of. Off the podium, Duke, bronze UNC, silver NC State, gold Wake Forest. Now we turn to the Gold Star presentation, which is how we finish the podium every week. It is a Gold Star for one of the Group of 5 or lower division teams in the state of North Carolina that earned a little extra praise, earned a particular accolade that we call the Gold Star. Dennis with the announcement.
All right, so we've had East Carolina make be the Gold Star multiple times here in the state of North Carolina, and we can easily say, hey, a Thursday Night Football win, national television against Tulsa, earning a Gold Star. But the biggest win in the state of North Carolina, outside of the Group of 5, well, actually, no one in the Power Conference schools actually won a game.
Yeah, that's true. This could be actually.
This is the biggest win in the state of North Carolina. Yeah. Trust me, we looked at Gardner-Webb. They lost. We looked at Davidson. They lost.
This was not a good weekend for college football in the state of North Carolina.
We looked at Western Carolina, not so much. App State loses.
Elon lost.
I even looked down at Methodist University in Fayetteville, D3 school. They lost as well. Winston-Salem State University improves to 4-4 on the year. They get a big win over Livingstone, 42-10. Winston-Salem State University.
Livingstone?
Livingstone.
Take that, Livingstone.
D2 school, Winston-Salem State University.
Blue Bears. Take that. Blue
big
Bears.
CIAA victory for Winston-Salem State University.
42-10. That's a proper blowout.
You know what the crazy part about that is?
What?
Actually, they had 2 guys rush for over 100 yards in that game. Winston-Salem State did.
They
have 312 yards rushing on 41 carries.
Stay dedicated.
I'm sorry, 302. My apologies.
Stay dedicated to the run.
Take notes, Canales.
Well, when you're up 42 or 35-10, it's easy to stay dedicated to the run. Stay committed.
Take notes, Canales.
Would their quarterback have 5 attempts?
15.
Yeah, all right. I was close.
11 of 15 for 202.
Yeah, That tracks if you got all those carries for the running backs. Credit to him. Winston-Salem State gets the gold star.